Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar entitled How to Easily Keep Track of Those Holiday Donations Using Church360 Ledger. My name is Stephen Jenkins. I am a software consultant here at Concordia Technology Solutions. Been with the company about 7.5 years now, and I'm just hosting and introducing the wonderful and very talented Ken Olemeyer. Ken is going to be leading us in the webinar today, and he's a senior manager here in the marketing department at Concordia Publishing House. This is Ken's photo and contact information. Before we jump into today's webinar, let's take care of a little bit of housekeeping. We will have right about 50 minutes for this presentation, and we'll reserve the remaining minutes for questions. But do not wait until the end. Throughout this webinar presentation, ask as many questions as you like. Just type them into the chat and we'll cover them towards the end of this presentation. Now, for those who are busy and need to step away for a second, no worries. We're going to record this and we will actually share via email a link to this video. So please continue on with your day, listen when you can, step away if you must. You'll get a recording of this presentation. Now, a little bit about Concordia Technology Solutions. We are the church administration division of Concordia Publishing House. We're actually in the same building. And we have been developing software for churches since 1984. Now, again, today's webinar is on Church360 Ledger. Ledger is just one of the 3 available products in the Church360 suite. We encourage you to watch our training webinars on Church360 Members, which is the administrative tool of the suite, and Church360 Unite, which is our church website builder. Of course, Ledger is our financial piece, and we're going to jump into that shortly. Now, with Ledger, a lot of people who are looking into financial software for their churches, they are trying to answer 3 questions. They are looking for something that is intuitive and secure and focus-based for the church. And I assure you that Church360 Ledger covers everything there. Now, before or in preparation of creating this training webinar, we've come up with a couple of assumptions. We are first assuming that you are somewhat familiar with church finances and that you're new to Church360 Ledger. And we're also assuming, and it's probably not an assumption, you're extremely busy and we enjoy offering software that cuts down your time so you can reserve that time for doing other church work. Now, for today's outline, we're going to go through the goals of Church360 Ledger. In fact, I'll cover a couple of them shortly. And then Ken is going to take us on a tour of the software. And at the end, we'll reserve time for questions and answers. So what are the goals of Church360 Ledger, you ask? Great question. Well, first off, church finances are often managed by volunteers, and we know that. And so most volunteers are not accountants. So with this software, we definitely want to create something that individuals are not intimidated by if you're not an accountant. So accountability, we know, is extremely important to the church. And so we developed this software to prevent the ill-intentioned from doing wrong. In addition to that, preventing the well-intentioned from making mistakes. So Church360 Ledger was designed to increase accountability. It was also designed to prevent mistakes. So with Church360 Ledger, we're going to jump into and dabble with the chart of accounts. We're going to cover budgeting, credits and debits. So with church finances, it's a little different than finances or accounting principles of a business. Churches, of course, use double entry fund-based accounting, and so we'll cover the transactions with the credits and debits, the double entry fund-based accounting. We're going to cover reconciliation, and we'll wrap up with reports. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to send things over to Ken. He'll jump in here and take it away.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much. I always love working with Stephen because he always gives me these great introductions. Probably a little
It
too
is
much.
really the best.
But let me give, let me see, I'm going to show my screen here. All right, I'm hoping that everybody can see my screen. You do see my screen, so thanks. Again, thank you for coming today, and thank you for taking some time out of your day or watching this at a later time. As Stephen mentioned, my name is Ken Olemeyer, and I'm one of the senior marketing managers here at Concordia Publishing House. And I got a couple of interesting things to talk about right off the bat. For many of you, or if you don't know and haven't watched some of our previous videos, a lot of our videos and training was done by a gentleman named Peter Frank. And Peter, we're very excited to say, has just been assigned his vicarage. He's been a student at Concordia Seminary for the last couple of years now, and he's going to be leaving us to become a full-time pastor, and he's going to go on vicarage assignment this coming year. But I want to introduce somebody and bring him on board too, to let you meet Rob Davidson. And Rob is our new marketing manager on digital products. So he's going to be getting more and more involved with these webinars, with our Church360 suite, with Lutheran Service Builder, with Shepherd Staff, all of the different digital products. So I'm thrilled to have Rob on the line with me today. Rob, how you doing?
Ken, it is good to be here. I am doing great.
Great, good. Well, I'm going to go through the webinar and the demonstration today, but I really wanted Rob on this. And as Stephen mentioned, Stephen's been here for a while, and the CTS team, the Concordia Technology team, has been working with this software and living and breathing this software day and night. But let's face it, I'm a marketing guy, Rob's a marketing guy. We are not accountants. And I would have a hard time even saying I'm a software guy at times. But this is why we want to show it to you. Because as Stephen mentioned, most of the time when you're in a church setting, you'll have some volunteers that are going to be helping you. Now, if you're an accountant, this software is going to be so intuitive for you. And if you're a guy like me, you might kind of bounce around on a couple things and, maybe make a mistake here or make a mistake there. But I'm going to show you how simple this software is and how intuitive it is, and how if you do make an error, it will show up. You won't be able to do certain things until you correct it. So we'll go through all that. I'm going to show you how powerful this software is and how you can keep track of your finances, and especially coming off of a big holiday like Easter. I hope and pray that you all had great Easter services. Pardon me. Now, one of the things I do in my job is I get out and I talk with church leaders. I talk with pastors. I talk with teachers. I talk with administrators. Myself, I'm an elder at my church. In fact, I had to sit in a committee meeting last night on finances and endowments and investments and all of these different things with my church. But one of the things I hear constantly over and over from the church people that I get involved with are, we have this desire to keep our church financially stable and be able to sustain and have the ability to go on for many, many years, and to be good stewards of the funds that are given to us. How can we do this easily? Well, I think we've got a great resource here. And as Stephen mentioned, it's one of the great trio of products in Church360. And I'm actually going to show you how those connect a little bit too, as we talk about offerings and receiving offerings. But we're going to look at the software today. I'm going to do a very general overview of everything. And we're going to look at it from a 30,000-foot view. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're not going to be able to obviously cover everything in our time. And that's okay. We've got a lot of training resources available to you, and we are here for you if you do have questions, or you're going through the demonstration and the trial period, and you've got some things that you're trying to work out. We're here for you. So always feel comfortable to give us a call. We love hearing from you. And in fact, we love hearing from the people who use our software, because we get a lot of ideas from you. If you're working on something and you say, boy, I wish you were able to do this with the software, let us know. And if more and more we hear those type of things, we can start developing updates and things like that. And because this is web-based, those updates would be immediately pushed to you as well. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of everything today. I'm going to show you just how the software is arranged, and I'm going to show how it provides just a quick glance, as well as a deep dive into some of the church finances for you. I'm going to show you how simple it is, and more importantly, I'm going to show you how automatic it is. There are so many things that are behind the scenes, and a lot of financial software has a lot of manual input that you have to do. With Church360 Ledger, there's so many things that are behind the scenes that are interconnected with some of our other software, and it's somewhat foolproof. As I said, that will be very helpful to you, especially as you work with volunteers as they input some of this data. So it's a lot to cover. We're going to try to keep this in our time frame. In fact, we'll try to end a little bit early so we have some good time for question and answers. And I know I can see from my side, everybody's seeing our screen, so this is great. So when you sign into Church360 Ledger on the internet here, you'll be at the home screen. And it seems like a lot of information. In fact, I'm on my 2021 year. If I went to 2022, I don't have as much data yet input into my 2022, so I'm going to kind of bounce between the two. But you see a lot of data here, but it's just a great snapshot of where you are in your finances. And I'll go through some of these different options in order to dig down deeper into some of these. But you see all of this, and it's just right here at your fingertips. And that dashboard is pretty effective. But let me just give you some navigational tips right now. So as you sign on, and you see at the very top, you see this $sign to the left side of your screen. That is our home button. If you were to be anywhere in the software and you clicked on that $sign, you'd go back home. You'll see me click back on that $sign quite a few times today as we go through this. The next one is a drop-down menu that has the various books that you can have. And I'm going to refresh the screen because I'm having a little bit, we've got some weather going on here today in St. Louis. And whenever that happens, if it's raining, it kind of messes some stuff up. So just refreshed it. I did the drop-down menu, and you see the different books that I've developed. So this is a great option if you have different financial books for things like Vacation Bible School, or maybe you have a school attached to your church. I've got a book for that. Or you've broken down different ministries, like a men's ministry or a music ministry. To be able to keep track of those different books is very, very convenient for you because it's all right there on your fingertip. And most churches may just have the one book. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it's available to you. Now, as we move over to the right, you see this. This is the print button. And I click into that, and you see I've got a couple different things already ready to print. And I can print one check at a time, or I can print a multiple batch of checks at a time. I can also print things like my ledger or my income and expenses, my different reports and things like that. I'll show some of those as well as we go along. But when you do have things to print, you'll notice there's a notification there. So you won't be able to miss it when it's time to get those things printed. You won't forget those. I go back to, there I go, right back to my $sign home. The other thing too that's nice in this as well is you're able to export any of the different pages to Excel. And what I love about that is I'm just going to click through there. It's going to download it right there. I'm going to open it up. It's opening up my Microsoft Excel. But what I love about this is the ability to take this information then and customize it, maybe make some year-end reporting that you might need, or some different charts or graphs, or do what you need for your job at the church in order to show a good snapshot of where you are with these expenses. However you want to handle it. We always talk about with Church360, these are all building blocks, not blueprints. So we allow some customization and some different ways for you to be able to do something unique to your church or to your needs. And it's all right there at your fingertips for you. The next navigational tool right here is pending transactions. And you see I've got a pending transaction right now for some donations that I've received on Easter Sunday. So I'm going to show how those pending transactions will be updated as we go in and put some more income and donations from our visitors and members at Easter. But we'll take a look at that as well. But again, when you have pending transactions, you'll also receive a notification there. I just find that very helpful because I'm one of those that if I don't see it, I'm going to forget it, and I'll get back on it the next time and I'll say, oh, why didn't I do that last time? But it's really good, and it will be able to give you the opportunity also to drill down into things as well. The next icon that you come up against is your book of reports. And I click down in there, and this lets you see all the possible reports we can possibly or currently go to and develop. We'll highlight some of these as we go along as well. But we have in here a general ledger. We have income and expenses, a chart of accounts, and a balance sheet. And those are the four main type of reports that we have. But then you also see that event log. And I love this as well because this basically tracks all the steps, all the changes, all the events, anything that happens within this software will be logged. And this is just great for auditing purposes. So for instance, I'm clicking into here and I mentioned I've got some different data points in here. So I'm going to click over to 22, but you just see that different things I've done recently are logged in there. And this is so helpful, especially as you have volunteers and especially as you have multiple people working on these. All right, I'm clicking back to my dollar sign. It takes me right back to home. So the next thing you see here is the cog or the wheel. And if I drop down on that, you see a lot of different places I can immediately jump to from there. You see my chart of accounts, you see my budgets, my fiscal years, reoccurring transactions, imported transactions. And then you get more into some of the administrative areas there where you can just, some of the general administrative areas, you can assign users and roles. And that is so helpful too, because let's say you open up a book and you want them to be keeping track of things. You can assign a role or a user part for that and let them come in there without seeing anything else. So you can assign what they're able to get into and see or be able to do on some of those. So for instance, if I click into roles, so here the administrator has all the books and they can manage the tenant, they can change, manage the chart of accounts, they can manage reoccurring transactions, they can see all the accounts. If I added a new one, let's say VBS director, and this applies to Vacation Bible School, maybe I just want to say they can manage reoccurring transactions or they can create deposits. And I'm going to submit that. So now I have a note. You see at the top that little green bar that says the role was created. I guarantee you, as we go through this, I'll show you how it'll come up and show you an error that it's not wasn't done correctly. But what's great about this is now this frees you up for other ministry, and especially as you're working with volunteers within your groups, you don't always have to be the person to keep track of some of this work. You can designate this, and because this is web-based, you're not stuck in the office. A lot of times you'll be working on a software and it's kind of locked to that one PC or maybe a group of PCs or laptops that have it. Because this is web-based, you can access and do your work within Ledger anywhere. As Stephen mentioned, it's safe, it's secure, but it also gives you the freedom and the flexibility to, do this on your back deck or to go to the coffee house and input some of this data or work on your checks or whatever. Very flexible. I think one of the things we all learned during the COVID time and the shelter in place and everything like that is we weren't always at the office or we weren't always in the church office or the administrative office. To be able to go and do this from any place is very convenient. A couple other things in here as well. This is where you do your books, and I mentioned that it's very easy to add books into here. You see here are my 4 books that I have right now. Let's say I wanted to add a new one. I just go in here, I type in, let's say music ministry. And then I can take whatever their fiscal year is or however you're set up within your system. For the sake of this, let's just say January, and I can do the starting date at any time, and I'll just hit submit. My new book was created. Very, very easy and very intuitive to do. Payees, this is another great little section. So as I have different payees, I can add them in here. If I need to delete some of those, I can delete them. If I want to take a quick look at the history, I can dig in right away to the history and take a look there. Let's just see, I know these folks we do a lot of stuff with our landscapers. So I can click in there and I have all of that available. I'm not flipping through books and binders and trying to look at old check stubs or anything like that. I have it all right here at my fingertips and I can easily address these type of things. Also, I can do a filter in here. Let's just say insurance. Okay. Let's say waste. Yeah. So as I start typing things in, this bar will take this, and it's just, as unfortunately, as many of us have a lot of payees, that list can get very, very long. But it's so nice to be able to jump in here and just type in a few letters and have what I'm looking for pop up right away. All right. The last thing you see here, and I'm going to go back to my $sign. And add it. And the last thing you see here is your user setting. And again, this is very, very basic. That's all the same type of things you're used to, but it just allows you to go in and be the main user on the page, and all of that type of thing will be taken care of later. I mentioned the ability to do some searching when I was in the last couple of screens. When you're in your home screen, you see this Omni bar right here. And there's a lot of different ways I can do this. I can click into it, and let's just say I want to jump over to assets. So I just do that right off the bat. I can get in there and I can get into my assets. Let's say I want to get into deposits. Oops. Deposits. Oh, let me get out of that. Well, let's say I want to do my deductions. So I can just go into there and click into tax, payroll tax deductions, and get a good look at that. And again, I have all of this in my fingertips. What's great too, as you're looking at this home screen, at this dashboard, is the ability to then click in and do a deeper dive into any of these as well. And you see all the different people there. And again, some of my data is a little bit off here, but you get the sense of where I'm going. And it's leaving me a trail the whole time as well. And here's where we can do the reconcile. We'll talk about that maybe if we have a little bit of time later. All right, then the other next bar, after I've done my Omni search, you see this new transition. Well, this is a drop down as well. And this lets me do multiple things from right from my home screen. I can go to my transfer, I can go to my deposits, I can go to a payment, I can look at checks, write checks, do that from there, or do a journal entry. And sometimes you will go into the journal entry and just be able to reconcile things or change things. And again, that will all be tracked in the event log. So when those type of things occur and you're doing the month end or whatever, you can go back and take a look at it and see who did that or when it was done. So I love the dashboard because it gives you a lot of information. But here's the other key too. And you'll see this on every single page as we go through here. Notice at the bottom right corner, right here, there's a little circle I. And that circle I is an information button for you. So let's say I've got a question on something or I've forgotten how to do something. I can go in immediately and say checking. Let's see if that pops up. Okay, I typed in checking and it pulls up some reports or results, creating payroll checks, voiding a check, printing a check. So that gives me some ideas on how to do that. Let's just say voiding a check. It gives me some basics right there. But here's the next thing. Let's say that didn't answer your question and you still have a question on it. You can send us a message. Type in your subject and then try to fill in as much information as you can so that our folks can answer your question right away the first time. But we're happy to keep going back and forth until we get your question answered. And you can send that just, it'll go straight to our technical support people, or you can even call us at 800-346-6120. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions on these type of things. The reason we developed this software was with churches in mind. And we know, we're all church members ourselves here. So we know sometimes that there are different things that occur within a church that you need to keep track of. So we are here to help. And that support team is all based here. They're all local. They're in the States. They're in St. Louis. They're ready to answer your questions and help walk you through that. So I always like to point out that circle I, because I know when I'm working on a software package, I mean, the whole idea of having software is to make your job easier so it saves you time. But there are times where I'm confused about something or I've forgotten something because I don't use it every day. Going to that circle I has saved me countless times. All right, so let's look at this new transactions. Let's see what I can do here. As I mentioned, you can transfer, you can deposit, you can have payments, checks, journal entries. If I click into transfer, right there, a new screen opens up. If I wanted to get out of this screen for any reason, or when I was done, or let's say I've changed my mind, there's just an X button there, you just click out of it. But let's go back into it and transfer. And yeah, this is when you're moving money between accounts. And this can only happen from an asset to an asset, or a liability to a liability, or an income to income, or expense to expense. So the first thing you can do in here, and this is optional, but you can put a memo in here. And sometimes just having a few words in there or something might trigger that memory for you. And then the date. And this is a good feature as well. You can backdate things very easily. So let's just say on the 24th, I needed to do something. I'm going to do that. And then I've got my memo already, and I said that's optional, so we won't bother with that. But then I go down to asset, expense, income, liability. I mentioned that these have to be the exact same thing. So let's say I'm doing petty cash, and I'm doing $25. But over here, I'm calling it, well, I've automatically just have my assets in here. But let's just say I hit save, and it's going to pop right up and tell me, okay, the transaction couldn't be created because a transaction has to have at least 2 valid lines. So I click out of there. I say, oh, okay, I've got to put this in somewhere. So let's put it in checking. And then I'm hit save. And see there, my transaction was created. Very simple to do. And again, it's almost flawless. You can't really mess up too much. So let's see here, save. So anytime you edit, it's automatically going to create that journal edit or journal entry as well. So I'm going to go into my event log. I go into 2022 because that's where it was. And then you see I just created a new transaction. And this is a great feature as well. Now I can actually even click into that transaction and see what it was. So it's right there for me. And I can just see what it is. I can also go in here and void this. Or if this is something reoccurring, I can make it a reoccurring type of situation. Or I can copy it and make some different changes to it as well. Again, I'm going to click out of it, just go over here. Frees you up to do a lot of other things because we all know you're busy on this. Next one, I'm going to go to my home page. Yeah, and you don't have to keep going back to the home page. I just like to do it because it keeps me in mind of where I am on different things. Next thing is deposits, and I love deposits. I think we all love deposits. Anytime you can add money to your asset accounts, such as checking or savings accounts, it really helps. It feels good sometimes within a church where you're kind of at times just going from month to month to month sometimes. So getting a deposit is a big thing. And assets and income accounts are the only ones to have deposits recorded, obviously. But it's very similar to our transfer step. So again, you have the memo line up here. I've got my date. I'm just going to put in here gift from Easter. And if it was a delayed gift, and I'm going to do it on the 2nd. And the payee, Arlene, decided to give that to me. And let's see, central trust checking. Let's say she $30 income, church at large. I'm just going to hit save, and there are my transactions created as well. So very similar, very simple, very straightforward. Next transaction is payments. Okay, with payments now, only assets or liability and expense accounts can be recorded. And this is where you're using to enter your electronic transactions, either your onlines or your electronic payments as well. So same type of thing. At my memo line, I have my payees. I go in here and just figure out what asset or liability I want to make. Same type of thing there. I'm not going to take a lot of time to do that because it's very similar. And I'm going to show you how we're going to make some deposits from our Church360 and show you that. And that'll be the pending transactions that we have. Or payments, I mean. The checks, I mentioned checks. This is great to be able to do a check. So let's just do a quick example here. So I've opened up my checks. I'm going to write this today. That'll work. And let's see, my memo line, new catechism, catechism books. Many of us have confirmation coming up. Either you have recently done a confirmation, you've got it coming up. And then let's say I'm going to do this to Concordia Publishing House. And you see, real quick, I just type in a couple different letters and I have some options right there. Check number, this was check 12567, let's say. And it's an asset, so our liability, it's an unrestricted from my central bank. I don't want to do it from my central savings. Let me just get out of there. Oh, here, I'll do that. So let's do it out of my checking. And let's say $450. We bought a couple cases of them. And if I were to click down, if I had some more to report on there, I could do that as well. But this is a ministry expense. So instead, trying to scroll down and find that for the sake of time, let me just do that. Ministry expense. And then you see the check itself right there as well. So that is great. And then all I need to do is hit save. And my check has been added to my print queue. So let me just go into there as well. And I can show you right there. There are my checks. So I bought some new hymnals. I'm buying a new streaming video camera. I can click on all of them or one of them and then hit print. And there are certain forms and templates and things like that that Stephen and the CTS team would have that type of information for you if you were interested in printing your checks from your own, but it would print out the check like this for you. Okay, click out of there. All right, the last thing in here right now, and the new transactions, journal entries. And again, this is where, this is where you can make some corrective entries. So for instance, if you're trying to balance items and you notice a payment or other transactions off by a few dollars, maybe it's a service fee that you forgot or something like that. You can do the journal entry to change the account information. Or maybe it's bank fees or interest or things like this. And these can be used for all the different accounts. So it's very simple also. So you just type in here a memo, the payee. So let's just do this. Electric service fee. And it's going to be to Ameren. And let's do this out of my checking again. And it's, I don't know, $20. And hit save. But I couldn't do it because the transaction has to at least have 2 valid items. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go 20. And let's see if that works. Well, first I have to click out of that. Yep, 2 valid items. So here's where I would have to go in here and just do that. Let's see if that works. It was created. So I had taken it out of my petty cash. So it had to be seen where that was coming from. All right. Same type of thing too. You can also do an entry or a void or copy as well in there. So the dashboard gives you a real quick overview. And I just want to make sure doing okay on time. That's good. A few other things. I've got the dashboard in a simplified view right now. If I click into my home, you also see that has a drop down. Well, that pops up 4 other windows for me: assets, liabilities, income, and expenses. And what's great about that is, again, it gives you that quick snapshot of where you are right now within your church budget. And from here, I also have the ability to export to Excel. Click into that. It's going to open up. And it's going to show me where, oh, there it is. It shows me where it is. I can go in here and edit those type of things as well. Click out of that. Or it also allows me to print. And it opens up a new window, and all I have to do is hit print, and I'm able to do that from there. So again, great features just to have it right there at your fingertips. I can also, I love this feature too. I've been bouncing back and forth between this year and last year, but I can go in and I can specify specific quarters, and it automatically changes to me. I can specify a specific month, and it changes for me. I can go in here and look at historic information. And again, I have to see, okay, I do have some historic information there, but let's say I wanted to compare a couple of years or some quarters or months. I can write that report to do that type of thing. And it makes it very, very convenient for you as well. So I'm going to go in here and clear that out. But that's really helpful, being able to do that. Let's go back to the top. Let's go to general ledger. Pardon me. Go to my general ledger and take a look at that. Now, there's lots of ways to customize your general ledger as well. You have some things here to be able to see your date, your type, where I can go in and say, okay, I don't want to see everything. Maybe all I want to see are my checks, or maybe I just want to see my deposits and my checks. I'll take checks off. So you can customize within the column itself on some of these, but it also shows me my check number. Maybe I'm just looking for a specific payee to take a report on and take a look at things. Let's just say I do want to go into my electric billing. So I can see that type of thing as well in my electric. Okay. I can look at my accounts. Again, customizing where I am on those. I have my memo line and the amounts. I can also double click into one of these and see it all at a glance as well. And that's very, very convenient for you. I can export it to Excel. I can print it as well. All right. Let's see what else. Let's see. Let's go in here. Income and expenses. Now, I love this feature too because it gives you another snapshot. It allows you to kind of take a look. And I'm going to bounce over to 21 on here because I have actually some more data in here as well. But I can click off, click these arrows and reduce where I'm going with this. And Rob, I'm just whipping through this, but I you know, again, as another guy who's not a financial guy, what do you think about it? I mean, the ease of seeing this type of stuff and being able to customize these reports. What do you think about that?
Well, so my only experience with finance software is QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And comparing this to QuickBooks, it is so much more straightforward. Not only tailor-made for what churches need with that added benefit, but it's so much more, you know, intuitive, I would say, for someone who doesn't have a finance background. When I get into the QuickBooks ecosystem, I have no idea what I'm doing versus the two, you know, I'm like, okay, so I think it's supposed to be this, and I go to the two tabs I kind of remember how to use. And this system just shows how, in such a better way, how everything is connected to each other, which again, you know, coming from a marketing guy, right? Accounting and finance, I know next to nothing about. This is so much more of a boon to my experience than something that I need an accounting degree to actually understand.
Oh yeah, and as we said early on, a lot of times you have volunteers jumping in and doing this for you.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to do. Find those volunteers in your church that can help you out with your accounting and your financial type of things, even if it's just entering the monies in. But being able to do it and being able to have that peace of mind that they're not going to be able to make mistakes. It's going to be intuitive for them. It's going to be a lot of behind the scenes type of things. One other thing real quick too on this, when we look at income and expenses, I bounced to 2020. You can look at your budget versus your actual and look at the percent of budget as well and see what's remaining for you. So you get that type of snapshot right away. Again, being able to print it and export it and everything else. The chart of accounts, similar type of situation. I can click into here. I can drop down as much as I want. Maybe I just want a quick overview. You know, maybe you just need that top line type of thing. I can click into it. I can look at everything much more in depth, and that allows me as a financial person or somebody on a committee within finance to really be able to think of next year's budget and try to think of where we want to be with it. Because again, you have the change plus or minus, you have the change percent here, you have the credits, you have your debits, you have your ending balance and your starting balance. Yep, I want to go into my books. And then the last thing, of course, is your balance sheet. Same type of thing, date picker. I can go in here, change my dates. I have my starting balance, my ending balance, my debits, credits, etc. And then last but not least, I've shown the event log a couple times, but it's there as well, keeping track of everything. Now, we've talked about how intuitive or how in sync these type of things are. So I just bounced over to my Church360 members. And if you don't have Church360 members, you can also get a free trial for that as well and just start kicking the tires around with that. But this is what I love about how the Church360 suite all ties together and how it just automatically syncs things. So I'm going to go into my offerings here on Church360. And I'm going to do a new batch. See if I can do a new batch. I'm going to go to my Easter Sunday, and I'm going to click there. And within Church360 members, and we've recently done a webinar on that. If you have questions on this, we'd be happy to address those type of things. But I want to keep track of some of the offerings that had come in. And I started a batch on this. I'm going to go into a new batch as well, just to show you how it is. So we have cash loose offerings, and this can be then into any fund that we want to particularly do. And we've set these up ahead of time. Again, we've got music ministry, men's ministry, youth fund. Let's just say this is a general fund. I'm doing it in cash. And let's say through the offering of Easter and the visitors we had in our church, we had an additional, let's go $425. All I have to do is hit enter. It's on there now. Now, if we're keeping track of our members as well, so Dave and Shirley Alexander, well, let's go down here. Let's go Howard Brown. Let's find Teresa Carter. Teresa Carter is envelope 109. I've got that marked. She likes to do this with a check. So I do that, and her check was, I've got 3056 there, but let's go, she was 3058. And she wanted to earmark something to our youth fund, well, to our men's ministry for her husband. And it is $25. I can enter that. I can click over at memo, paying for men's breakfast. She had forgotten to do that, but she added it to the offering plate that day. Again, I can keep going through all of these. And just Jason and Marie Becker, they do this through credit card or electronic. Not going to men's ministry, but there, and they wanted to do a $300 offering. So I can go on and on and on and on like that. So you see over here with saved, you see everything that goes there. Now let's go back to my ledger though, and let me just refresh this. And you see up here, it's starting to make a notation. Now I had started an earlier one of these. I had $14,000, but here's the $750 I just did, also given on Easter Sunday. I just click in here to deposit. It takes me into here. It takes me, I can just say Easter funds. Asset is going in our checking. Income, general fund, general fund. Now, let's see what happens if I do this. I hit save. It says I can't do it because, again, it has to have at least 2 valid line items. So let's go in here. And this was just church at large. Let's just make all of these churches. Well, no, let's earmark this to men's ministry and vacation Bible school right there. So I have my 2 line entries now. Let me cross out of this error message and then hit save right here. And then my transactions were created. So that's how easy it is to take in the other monies or the donations that you have from Easter. And I know we call this, doing it from the holidays. It's the same, every Sunday. So it is one of those that just makes it very simple for you to be able to do that. Now this is interesting. Notice how when I added this second one and opened it up, it also gave me church at large and men's ministry already. So that's great. I do that, my transactions were created. Now, I'd ask you, how do you think you'd use Ledger? How would you take the power that's in Ledger and bring it into your church? I think you can just imagine, how you might be able to use it and how that could free up your time to do other ministries. And I always think about this when we do these demos. There's always kind of the 2 types of people who will take the time to watch a presentation like this. It's those who do nothing and then just keep doing things the same way they always do it, or those who are going to try it and maybe find out that, hey, this is a lot simpler for me. And today is a great day to sign up for the free 37-day demo. And I'll have Stephen talk about the 37-day demo and just see if it's something that's going to save you some time, save you some money, and save you the opportunity or provide you the opportunity, let's say, to do more and more within your church. And again, maybe that's bringing more people in to help with it. That's a great way to connect members. Or maybe it's just something that frees you up to go off and do some other ministries as well. So there's so much you can do with Church360 Ledger, and it syncs so beautifully with the other Church360 products. And this was just an overview webinar. We just started scratching the surface. I didn't even have time to get into reconciling and all those type of things. We will do that in other times and in other webinars, because we're going to be doing more of these as the year goes on. So be looking for those announcements. A lot of times we send that out via email. So please be sure to keep track of your emails and make sure you've got the Concordia Technology Solutions, Concordia Publishing emails coming to you. But I just want to say again, thank you for attending. Rob, thanks for jumping in here with me and just let me walk through some of these. I can't wait for you to get more deeper into this as well. I know you're already working on the understanding of everything.
Yep.
Yep. But here's the thing. We're here for you. So if we can be of any help as you're working through this as well, please let us know. Contact us as well. And I'm going to hand it back to Stephen so he can give you all the new contact information and we can help answer any questions. And I think time-wise, we might even be able to get out a little bit early today. So we might be able to give you some more time back to free up more of your ministry. So Stephen,
That always sounds like a great idea.
I am going to hand this back to you. Or actually, do you see it?
Let's see here.
Are you that? If I do that,
Here we
okay.
go.
Okay. Looks like we might have a question or two too, bouncing.
Do we have any questions? I don't see any on my end, but that's fine.
Okay.
So hopefully you can see my screen again. So as Ken alluded to, I just want to dive a little deeper on this here, and great job as always, Ken. I really enjoy doing these webinars with you. So we do offer a 37-day free trial of Church360 Ledger. 37 days, you ask? Why? Why 37 days, especially when the other two products are only 30? What's financial software? So you want to enter in your finances for an entire month, right? And then take a week to review all of those entries and just make sure it's a good fit for you. See how everything has changed during that month of entries, and just see how the software is really a great fit for you and your church there. Now,
Yeah, they can take that extra 7 days to talk to you a lot, Steve.
Absolutely. You can always reach out to us. Don't wait to the end. Anytime you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But with this, I do want to actually focus on this. There are quite a few Church360 customers who have Church360 members and maybe even Church360 Unite. And they're thinking, hey, this financial software is a great addition to this. And so let me start a trial. Now, if you are one of those customers and you have one of our other products, give us a call. And what we can do is go ahead and activate that trial for you so that you can experience the same syncing between Church360 members that Ken just displayed to you. So don't start it on your own because it's not going to do the syncing. Give us a call if you're a current Church360 customer, and we'll go ahead and take care of that for you. In fact, let me bring up our contact information. That is mine, and also for the software consultant email address. Drop a line in either one and we'll definitely take care of you. So let me just do a quick scan here before we cut away. I do not see any questions here, but I typically get a couple when people are looking into Ledger.
There's one. I see one. Still no transfer from QuickBooks. Is there a transfer available?
There is not, and let me explain why. The decision was made quite a while ago not to offer a data transfer when it comes to financial software. Now, this is not the case for every church, but as we kind of tackled at the onset of this webinar, sometimes there are some mistakes that are made, and we would hate for you to bring over data from a QuickBooks or a Quicken or any other financial software option out there and start our brand new software with mistakes of old. So it may be unfortunate to some, but really if you just save your data from those other products, that and you want to review them, you can. But at this time, unfortunately, there is no data transfer. But in the long run, it's a good decision that we have made.
But I love getting those type of questions as well, because those are the types of things that as we hear, we're able to try to figure those out, if we can do it, if we can't do it, if it makes sense for the software itself. So please always keep asking us those type of things as well.
Absolutely, yes. And then also another question I tend to get from time to time concerns the users. With Ledger, it is unlimited users, unlimited admins. Ken had mentioned this earlier. There are some churches that have separate entities where they need a book for those different entities, like a school or a daycare. And maybe you have your finances for those separate entities separate from the churches. And you may have financial individuals dedicated to those separate entities. So this software is so great that with the roles that you can create, you can give those individuals access to the software, but keep the church's finances and checks and access to all of the accounts separate, or prevent those individuals from accessing that. So that way they can go in and work with a particular entity that they're meant to work with. So that is really important and great information. All right. So I don't see any additional questions here. So yeah, we'll let you cut out a little early here. On behalf of Ken Olemeyer and Rob Davison, I'm Stephen Jenkins. Want to thank you again for joining us here on this webinar, and reach out to us when you need us, okay? Everyone, have a blessed day.
And have a
Take care.
wonderful weekend too.
Amen.